I know, getting down with it.
Exactly.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, everyone.
Welcome to our second Kendo UI R2 2021 live stream. I'm Alyssa Nicoll.
TJ VanToll.
And I think we might have a wild Carl with us.
Carl is working on connecting, so Carl will presumably appear here randomly at some point. So
I'm digging this yellow. It's nice.
I do like the yellow. There's a nice contrast with the little Kendoka on the top too. I think it looks nice.
It's beautiful. Hi, Ivana. She said thank you. I think she picked out the yellow.
So fun story, Alyssa. I don't think I've told you this story before, but yellow happens to be my favorite color. And one time, the very first time I went to Disney World in my entire life, there with my kids, two Disneyland employees come up to us, or Disney World. This is in Florida, so Disney World. Two Disney World employees come up to us and say, stop us all and say, "What's your favorite color?" And everybody else, in my family, they like red, so they said red. And the people were in there oh, and then they look at me and say, "What's your favorite color?" And I say yellow. And they look at me and they get so excited and they pull out a brownie with all yellow M&Ms on it and said, "You can have this." And it's incredibly random, right? But my favorite color, yellow is a favorite color, got me a sweet brownie.
Oh, that is so funny.
Apparently there are people at Disney that just get paid to I don't know if this is just a yellow thing, if they just they presumably spread all the M&Ms out with different colors and then send them out into the park. But I got a giant brownie with yellow M&Ms.
That is awesome. And was the fam sad about it? Were they
I did share, but not after making a big scene about it though.
You were like, "Oh, you want to say red, huh?"
Yeah. What has red ever gotten you?
Right? Not a free brownie.
Exactly.
Oh goodness. So today, do you want to talk about the game plan for our stream today?
Yeah, so we're celebrating, first of all, this is release week here at Progress. We've had our R2 release for both our Telerik tools, our Kendo UI tools. And so we've been doing a series of these even. And so today what we're going to be discussing is Kendo UI for Angular, where Alyssa's going to show some stuff for that first. And then for the second half of this stream, I'm going to jump in and show off some KendoReact stuff as well. So we'll be doing a little bit of a show and tell, but this is an interactive thing. So if you have questions, if you have things you want to see us demo, if you have different favorite colors that you want to talk about, chime in the chat. We can show off that sort of stuff. And this is all leading to, and I've got the link, and we've got a banner for this too.
Yay!
The main webinar we're doing for really all of Kendo UI tomorrow. So if you want to see a full formal presentation of all the features we're shipping for all of Kendo UI, make sure to sign up for that and join us again tomorrow and see an overview of this. But overall, like I said, we're mostly just hanging out today, but showing off some cool Kendo stuff. So feel free to chime in or just hang out.
So I've prepped a demo, and I wanna share my screen and make sure I do it properly. Can I do it? I'm trying to share a desktop. I don't know if it's going to let me do that.
Should. I always share just full screen.
Well, because I want to, I guess that would work. I wanted to do, so if I do this and I share this screen, does it show? It doesn't show the Chrome tab. So here's what we're going to do. We will stop sharing and we'll just do, like you said, the whole screen. Okay. Share. Because I wanted to show, that way you can see everything popping back and forth. Let's see. Sorry. Let's see. So if we do this and I go over here, can you see the code and also the Chrome tab?
I can, yes, and I see ponies.
Yay! Awesome. Okay, I'm going to real quick drag to I have I usually don't work with two what do you call it? Screens, monitors. And so that's I'm doing it. I'm trying it today. So I'm like, I'm gonna put you over there. Okay, excellent. Yes, somebody was talking about strawberries wrapped to my yes, I love this background. It makes me so happy. Okay, so onward and outward and leftward.
And real
and
quick,
rightward.
Alyssa, before you start, we have Carl here.
Carl!
Hey everybody.
You joined just in time to see no, you're good. You're just in time actually. We've got ponies up on the screen, so you didn't miss anything.
Love
now
it.
It's a party.
One of my favorite sample applications that we have. Love it.
Yes, I'm actually going to get the GitHub link for everyone. So if you go to Alyssa Michelle, and then it's under Kendo UI Tour of Heroes release is because I have two different versions of this. So I'm plopping that golden nugget in the chat. Sorry, I'm like really bad at this double screen thing, but there you go. It should have showed up. Let me know if it didn't. So that's the GitHub link to this gorgeousness. And what I did was I took John Papa's, I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I took John Papa's Tour of Heroes application, which was very boy-y. I don't know how to say that better.
Masculine?
Masculine. Boy, yeah, that's a word. It was very it was a bit too masculine for my taste. And so I, of course, had to take it to the extreme because, you know. So here is the My Little Pony app, and it has, well, the My Little Pony version of the Tour of Heroes. And so a quick tour of the Tour of Heroes app, if you're unfamiliar with it. It's an Angular application. He actually has a bunch of different versions. I think there's like a React and a Vue version now. But this Angular version was like the old school demo that everyone learned any Angular in. And so I had to clone it, had to make it my own. And so you'll even see the like references to it throughout the Angular docs about it. And there's similarities, but then of course they took it up a notch. So I've got the top heroes here, which are our Kendo UI cards. And then I wanted to, during the last release, I wanted to try out the tile layout, which has like drag and drop. And so you can kind of like organize your main 6.
Yeah.
No, nobody. Okay. I love me some dad jokes. And then I added this feature, which I'm going to keep it going for the future releases, which I love, is this sidebar over here that I added cards to, that kind of highlight the new components for the release. And so it's actually the component, like it's not a GIF or an image, so you can like click around and play with it. So seriously, if you want to see what I'm working with, the link is in the chat, which I can like pop on screen. It's on my GitHub. So if you want to pull it down and play with these, everything's already installed and ready to go. And then we're going to actually, so I find this, and I saw this with TJ. I see this with TJ's demo apps as well. Sometimes it can be difficult to incorporate like some of the new components because you're like, I don't a radial gauge with the ponies, right? So I thought this sidebar was like the perfect answer to that. So I can go ahead and install it, get it running. And I even have I added these like ng add commands so that you know what package to add in order to get that component. Because sometimes it's difficult to know, like bottom navigation, right? That one's pretty obvious. It's going to be under navigation. But sometimes you're like, where is the skeleton? And it's underneath indicators. And that's what you have to install. And so, that was the npm command. Sorry. I'll get the ng add command up there. But anyways, you can copy and paste these, run them, see them, pull down this demo. It was high time. All right, everybody. I know everyone's been like, we love this demo, but your hero detail page needs some work. Finally, right? I got it. So if we go and we click into the best pony of all time, Pinkie Pie, you'll see after a long load that the details of Pinkie Pie load in, and you can modify her name here or like read about her information. We've got this little flex row here of images. So different ponies have different amounts of images. I'm not sold yet on like this design, but it is much better than what came before. So today on our Pinkie Pie detail page, on our pony detail page, hero detail page, whatever you want to call it, we are going to be using my all-time favorite component for this release, and maybe ever. It might have beat out list view, the skeleton component. So I did React get it as well? TJ?
We did, yeah. So
did?
So if you're a React person watching this, the APIs are going to be different. Well, I think the APIs are pretty much the same. It's just the syntax is different, right? It'll be Angular E versus React E.
Thank you, Aztec. That was sweet. He said Alyssa's magic. Okay, so yes, I'm going to be showing off the skeleton component, and if we have time, I did some media query magic for the second one you see in the list here, the bottom navigation component. But do pull it down, follow along. All of like the final product is on master. I don't want to hear any I was gonna say crap. What's a nice word for that? I don't hear any garbage about me working on master. Okay, this is my life. I'm on the master branch. I love you all. But seriously, check it out, pull it down, and let's get going. So when you think about the skeleton component, let's actually pull it up. I'm gonna pull up the docs. Grid on I always kind of like the grid on develop branch, and then I kind of like navigate from there. This is how I do life. Welcome to it. So we're going to open up indicators, go into skeleton, and check it out. I love the skeleton. And so this is the skeleton component, but it's obviously being used inside of a card component. So like this is what will be on the page before this full card loads in. And that's kind of the idea of, hey, before things load in, you want to give an idea of like what kind of elements on the page. And it's almost like a placeholder visually as well. And so this is what we're going to copy this section right here, the markup, the HTML. And then we're just going to kind of replace bits of it with skeleton component until we've kind of got a preloaded detail view, if you will. And then we're going to use some ng ifs to toggle it and be done. Easy peasy, right? Said no one. Okay. So we're inside our hero detail page. Please let me know if this is too, what's the word?
Small?
Large?
Tiny?
Small? Large? Yes. Tiny?
Is
it too tiny?
Ineligible? Yeah.
Is it?
One more size up might be nice.
Yeah, bump it just a teeny bit.
Okay, I'll try, DJ. I'll try. Oh dear
that's
God.
Perfect.
If
Okay,
this
let me
is
see if
challenge
I
mode,
can.
just bump it up even more.
Even more.
Yeah.
Like I like was on a stream because like that's kind of my life now. It's just like half stream, half normal life. And I had the font like this large, and you all can't see it because it probably looks pretty normal to you, but she's thick, she's massive. And I like went off stream, and then I was coding the rest of the afternoon, and I look over to my husband who's in the same office with me. We're both programmers, and I was like, oh dear God, I've been working with like size like 100 font all afternoon because I like bump it back down. I was like, I think it's giving me a headache because I don't know. I just didn't see it anymore. So
I find that the font size that I use is directly correlated with my age. That's I used to be the person that was like teeny tiny font and I had 4 things across.
16,
now I'm totally just
16 years old. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Now I've got it up. I've got it up like this, the same font size. Usually I don't have to bump it up for streams and presentations anymore because I'm just that big normally.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny. Okay. I want to, so we copy pasted this section, which if you go through this application, if you pulled it down, you're running it, you pull down, clone down, whatever, npm install, and then ng serve. But if you're like, what is with all the comments, Alyssa? Because if you go through any of these components, there's going to be like some have like hundreds of lines of comments. So what happens with this application is I get a piece of functionality working, and it's with something, either a new feature, a new component, something I wanted to try out in CSS, whatever it is, and I get it working and it's perfect, and then I'm like, cool, I'm done with you now, because otherwise, like, just this like ridiculous Frankenstein monster of an app if I left everything living. But I don't want to, because there's still good, it's still good stuff, still good demo stuff. So if you ever go through this application, you're scrolling through and you're like, hey, what's this out? A lot of times I'll put comments above it of like what this version of this markup is, and you can uncomment it, check it out, play around with it. But yes, this is just the living stuff is on top here. So we have duplicated it. We're going to save it. We're going to go and let it do its little refresh bud. Oh, forgot to mention hot dog on a stick. Now we have 2 Pinkie Pie details. I'm so sorry if my ADHD back and forth is too much today. Hot dog on a stick was, we're on V12. So Angular released V12, which I actually, can you see this by any chance? Yes, you can.
Yeah,
oh, my goodness. The technology these days. It's amazing. Okay, we're going to close this. We are on version 12 of Angular, and I know it's in here somewhere. I did it. I did a thing, and I duplicated it. I probably skipped it. Maybe not. I'm losing my mind. Hang on, everybody. Here it is. Woo! Okay. So we are now on Angular version 12, and this application is now on Angular version 12. And all of our UI components are now V12 compatible. There's a lot of really, really cool stuff. The Angular team did a YouTube stream. It was only 30 minutes long, but it was going over these highlights and other kind of community changes that are coming up. So check out their YouTube, the Angular's official YouTube channel, for if you want to dive into any of those. But yes, that's back to business. Here we are.
So the Angular 12 thing is Ivy, right? So is this Pony app now? Is this an Ivy app Ivy rendered app that I'm looking at right now?
Yes, we are for full on. Although I think I changed it over. I'm pretty sure I changed it over last version during the RC. I don't know. Carl, you can correct me if I'm totally off my rocker. But
well, what we did with the Pony Tour of Ponies, I'm not sure, but Ivy at least came out with 10, right? That was the first version.
That's right. That's right. Because I was like, I'm pretty sure it's been a while. So some of the cool things with tooling is the Ivy language service, which is like different things within VS Code that's like, hey, like you got this error or this bug. And so that got a big upgrade.
Okay.
But we've been on Ivy for, I guess, like Carl said, too. I was like, I know version 11 I was on Ivy, but yes, we are using the new rendering engine.
Yeah. Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
And there is a certain checkpoint, in your brain when you're like, all right, so we support Ivy now, right? And Ivy's the default. All right, boom. And then you just forget about what version that might have been.
Yeah, you're like, that it was ever not a thing.
Yes, we're done. We're done. Yeah.
Well, and so some of the other tooling highlights down here are like Ivy library distribution, aka Ivy everywhere. That's referring to people who, like us, who build libraries. Because as you can imagine, whenever you're like, hey, we're going to use an entirely new rendering engine for our framework, it's going to take time to roll that out everywhere. And so there was a whole thing with NGCC and needing that for a while. And I personally have not rolled my own library, but if you are rolling your own library, there is good news around tooling with library distribution and now using Ivy. So, but like I said, check out that keynote. It was kind of a keynote. I think they call it a keynote, but I really don't. I feel like keynote has to be in association with a conference. So, anywho, so we now have a duplicated detail chunk-a-monk, and like again, the idea is. Let me go ahead and I'm just gonna. Right, we have an ng if hero, and that's because I was getting all of these really annoying errors whenever my data wasn't loading in. It was like residence doesn't exist, alias doesn't exist, and I'm like, stop talking to me. So I threw on an ng if hero. But what we're going to do for our, and I'm just going to put a little, this will be our skeleton detail section. To load before data. Okay, so here we're going to just do a little bang and say if there's not a hero. So now we should see, actually, that's not a good idea because we don't have any of this data. So we will see it in a second. Let me actually collapse my article. So I'm using, I see people using them interchangeably. So Carl and TJ, feel free to call me out if you are dissatisfied with my HTML usage. I see people use section and article and main and all of those things kind of like wherever they please. Like sometimes sections will be inside of articles, sometimes articles will be inside section. So I just decided for this app, I was going to use articles as the smaller chunks and sections as the larger chunks, but I don't know. Do you all have firm opinions so that I can fix my
my only opinion on this sort of thing is that it's not worth overthinking, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter too much. Like,
God bless you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do have, because I was like, oh yeah, when would I use one over the other? I did pull up the MDN actual definition of it. But to me, it reads very similar. So article defines a piece of self-contained content. It does not refer to the main content alone. It can be used for comments and widgets. The section element defines a section of a document to indicate a related grouping of semantic meaning. It means, it makes sense to use the section element to provide extra context for the parent element.
Section
Did you write these?
Perfect.
This is your notes?
This is legitimately, I Googled article versus section.
I was like, did you write this, Carl?
No, this is MDM. I'm reading it straight off the MDM definition.
Based off what he read, I'd say section here is perfect, because that's like a parent of grouping content, which is exactly what section is doing.
Yeah.
Article seems like more nebulous to me, like when you're supposed to use it. Like you could, that's pretty vague. Like you could.
I know, right? Like.
Yeah, self-contained content. If I were to go by that strict definition, it's essentially when something truly is like it can live by itself. So if you strip away everything else within the application, doesn't make sense on its own. While you can say that a comment doesn't make sense if it's not attached to something, maybe. But a comment, like somebody saying, "Hey, Alyssa, I love your ponies app," that it can be a self-contained thing, right? That's just a self-contained comment. So that's how I would think about it, I guess. And then section can kind of be a little bit more whatever, I guess, in comparison. That's my definition of it. And watch somebody
this was just
very familiar with
really
this and be mad at us.
Serious attempt at trying to stop using divs everywhere. Because I use divs everywhere. And I was like, all right, seriously, Alyssa, you're going to get better at this. But then, yeah, like you're saying, sometimes you're like, can this be a section?
I do like I say what you have is perfect here, because I think the big reason not to use divs everywhere is almost like debugging. Because like if you go in and like inspect source, like having some different things will help you, because otherwise you're going to see like 3 layers of nested divs. And you're like, oh, crap, which div did I need? Which div did I need to style? Right. So like,
yes.
I think there's also the accessibility angle, and just having something that isn't just a plain div around a section does help a little bit as well, because you can have 10, 15 divs surrounding it that do nothing except help you with the layout, and then the actual meat and potatoes of what you're trying to show is in section or article, which can make that be highlighted a little bit uniquely for screen readers and things like that. So I think even if you're not sure which one to use, at least as a baseline, you're better off having one of them used a little bit incorrectly than just having, one div among hundreds.
Divs everywhere.
Yeah. With a bunch of different, area attributes essentially slapped on top of them to try to overcome some of that, some of those issues.
And if anybody here thinks we're horribly wrong, just let us know in the chat.
Yeah, no, seriously, we're here for it. Let us know in the chat.
What happens when 3 developers argue over some definition that they just read on the internet and trying to make a decision based off of it? I guess this is very real. This is probably a conversation that's happened in multiple teams before, right?
Okay, so what I've done, which you might have seen while we were chatting, was I've tried to strip out all of the bits that are like binding like hero data, because again, this is the skeleton detail section that we want to load before we have any data. So what I'm trying to do is just put these little placeholder buds for where I want to pull in the skeleton component. So next to the pony ID, next to the residence, next to the alias, we know that an alias is going to be there. But we don't necessarily know what that alias is yet because we don't have the data. So that's where the placeholder skeleton will go. And so I'm looking, I think we're ready to go ahead and start pulling in, yeah, looks good. Okay. So let's go over to this one. I don't know. I really couldn't tell you. Right here. Okay. So here on our, right, remember it's inside indicators. We have our skeleton. And if we go to appearance on our skeleton docs, you will see we have these 3 lovely options. So text, circle, and rectangle, which yes, we're going to use all 3. So let's go ahead and view the source and check it out. So it's, as one would expect, Kendo-skeleton. And then you are giving a shape, an animation, which we'll talk about in a second, and then a base width. So let's do it. Let's check it out. I have already ran the, if we go back to our thing, I've already ran the ng add command. Again, not the npmi command. I don't know what I was thinking. Lost my gourd for a second. I don't actually need breakpoints. Thank you, though. Okay. So we copied a skeleton. We're going to plop it in. And this double string bit is not needed. You can actually get rid of the inner string and the brackets if you so choose to clean it up in such a manner. Okay. But it is needed here on width because it is not a double string. Okay, so we have a shape of text, which is what we do need right here next to pony name, and an animation of pulse. And then width, let's see. I think I looked earlier and I found the optimum width. Okay, so for each of these pieces, I actually changed the width. So let's just see what 200 looks like. And we're going to throw it in next to each of these. Boop, boop, boop. And, you know, I probably should be a bit cleaner about it. Clean it up. Clean it up. Okay. Now let's go and see if we have any errors. Hey. Okay, so we got something loading in. I'm going to refresh and show you again. Yeah, you see it? Everybody seeing it? I think people are seeing it.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, awesome. I was like, did I lose the stream? Oh, I knew it. Okay. So let's go. And I'm trying to remember where. I'm going to bump down just for a second so I can read a bit easier. I'm trying to remember where I set it. I think in the app module. We're going to add a bit of a delay. Right now, it's like a medium delay, but we really don't want the data. Oh, no, we don't need to do that. I'm such a goose. Let's go ahead and take off our ng if. So it's just always there so that we can kind of debug and make it look like the section below. Okay, perfect. So a couple things. We lost our styling here. Yikers. It's supposed to be styled like this. And then I was thinking we could go ahead and put a skeleton next to like maybe a chunkier text skeleton or a rectangle one next to the word details. So it's kind of like it's loading in the name. So let me go ahead and TJ, what time do you 10, 15 minutes?
15 after. Yeah, but if you go a little late, that's all right. Take 15, 20 minutes.
Okay, cool. So I am going to start copying over pieces from the master branch because we don't have as apparently I prepared 2 hours worth of content. So we're going to put this thing in hyperdrive. Let me pull up what I was talking about with my skeleton header. And if we are already here. And so instead of this H2, I'm going to go ahead and have a skeleton header. It's just a class I made to go ahead and style it. And I think I just gave it some flex styles. We can go check that out in a sec. And then I still have this H2. It was because I was still doing like a binding, even though I had absolutely nothing to bind. So the attribute broke. Anyways, so let's save, go check it out. Okay. And I wonder Why are you not side by side? She asks. It is probably because I nestled. That's a word, right? Nestled? I nestled everything inside of a skeleton section class. So beautiful. Okay. So this is what I came up with as our placeholder for details. So you still have the word details, but it's kind of like, hey, I'm loading in a name. So blank person's details. Maybe the whole thing should be blank. I don't know. But anyways, that's what I decided. And then I'm going to something that's really cool. We have two options when it comes to animation. And I don't know, Carl, maybe you could correct me. I kind of like use some places and others other places. Should you be consistent? Like, should all your skeletons on one page have the same animation? I don't know.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I think the animations are fairly subtle. And especially if your application is working over a fast network in general, I think you probably won't catch it. I would say that at a minimum, your sections that are related, so what we have here, they should probably be the same. And then if they're separated enough, because as you can tell, right, all these skeleton components are kind of now animating and pulsing in the same kind of pattern, right? You don't have
and as
the top
you know, as
one
he was saying, it is subtle because this right here is wave, or sorry, pulse.
Oh yeah, wave.
And then pony name is wave. So these are the difference, and then these are all pulse. So it is a subtle difference, but I love that we have the option. And I think I kind of like wave better than pulse. But anyways, so I am going to, let's see, grab this article because I really want to have time to show you the Media Aquaria stuff with our bottom navigation. But copy pasted. And basically what I did was I went through, and let's go ahead and change that to wave 2 since I decided that that's my all-time favorite. But I went through each of these and I was like, hey, pony name should probably be 156. And text should, the pony ID is really short because it's just a number or two numbers. So I gave that 50, and then all the way down. I modified the lengths of the data that was incoming to kind of mock out how I felt it would look. But if we go back over here and we refresh, so now you have, and I'm actually going to put it back down to normal size. So I even created a little placeholder image bud over here, which we can look at down here, which is a shape of circle. Because like we said, we have text, rectangle, and we have circle. So these are all just different sizes of text. And let's see, did I use rectangle on details? I used text, but since it's so chunky, I feel like it could be rectangle. I think that's more for if you didn't want to break up these sections into like individual lines, you could have just like one big loading area, which would actually be really great for like if we went to our dashboard. If you'll notice how long it takes for these cards to load in, I could put like rectangles for those, or I could put empty card components like you saw in the demo on the docs, where the empty card component has skeletons within it loading. So I love the skeleton component. Let's go back into, let's pick a different pony. We'll go
another thing that you can do, by the way, if you want to really get snazzy, is if you want to represent a paragraph, you have a couple of different options that you can do. You can either do like the header is the text and then the paragraph is just one big chunk, or you can do different lines of text kind of chopped up and ran a little bit of random order to like represent like how a paragraph looks, right? We type to type space. I've seen that in some cases as well. So either it's just multiple lines of text, it's multiple lines of text in different, just one, below each other, a different length, or to go the extra mile, you have like multiple on the same line, which is a little bit of padding between them. And then you kind of randomly generate that. But we only have so much time on this stream. I'm just throwing out some of the cool things.
I love that. This, I forgot I mocked out placeholders for the images as well. I just did 3 because like some ponies have a ton of images. But if we go back to like Pinkie Pie's, I think she only has 3 images. So this will be the placeholder, and then in will pop all our content. So now all we have to do is go up to the top of our skeleton bud and add our ngIf back just to check for the data. Hero? Merp. Yes, hero is what I called it. Awesome. So we're at the very top, it's loading in, and then it pops in. So I think it needs a bit more adjusting to make sure that the widths of all the elements are the same. That way you don't have any poppage. But I love that we now have the skeleton component so that we can do things like this. And I fully plan on Friday is my clean up this app day. I have like so dubbed it, right? So I fully plan on using the skeleton component on the dashboard and on the heroes page as well to mock out whenever these chunks of data are still loading in. So I really love it. Let's see, we have 10 more minutes. Perfect. We have time. That means to show the next one. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. I think that's everything. Oh, I do want to go ahead and show. So you can open up all of my CSS files if you pull this down and see. I generally like to, near the bottom of component style sheets, that's where I will put any customizing Kendo UI stuff. So, and it's the same for like any framework or library, like you want to have that off to a separate place. So these are up at the top. These are like label, input, button, right? These are just like default styles that I want to give things. But then whenever I'm using like in the skeleton section, I specifically am overriding, like I want the skeleton header, or sorry, I want the skeleton to be like this, to do this thing, to be this color, right? And so check it out. I have just all the styles here for you to see. And then I think I have, this should all be pretty much the same from last time, where none of this has been modified in the TypeScript file. So let's go over to, so let's go to the docs first, and then we'll jump into the example. So the next one that I wanted to talk about, if you scroll down on our sidebar, is the bottom navigation component, and it's under indicators. So if we go, sorry, not indicators, navigation. So if we go find navigation, there's our bottom navigation, and we can check out getting started. And I'll make this a little bit bigger for fun. So this is our gorgeous bottom nav that loads in. And I know we had a convo about this. And so I think while I get it set up, maybe you could talk a little bit about the difference between AppBar and bottom navigation. But like, I know we talked about it last time. So just like the brief summary, Carl, of when you, because in my head I was like, yeah, bottom navigation, mobile, duh. But I don't know. AppBar can also be used on the bottom. So
yeah, they serve some unique purposes. I agree with you that we will probably mostly see this in PWAs or responsive applications when things get a little bit tiny. That's when the bottom navigation really shines. Of course, we're trying to target any and all types of applications with the Kendo UI components, right? So some you might see are a little bit more mobile specific, potentially. The main difference is the bottom navigation is only a setup of elements like we see here with icons, text, or both. And it is purely intended as a navigation tool, so you press on or click or whatever you're doing with that interaction, right? And it does an action based on that. You, of course, have full control over it. The AppBar is a little bit unique because that could, at a basis, just be a header in an application. It's just an easy way to provide a header. But you oftentimes see headers have a little bit more, right? So it might have navigation, might have a search bar, it might have contextual things that change as well. In this sample, we have the traditional kind of notifications potential pop up, and maybe an avatar to go into your profile, as well as a drawer on the left-hand side. So it's kind of this utility component in a way, because you can define these sections and do whatever you want within them. And you can split at the top, bottom, or both. And then you can make it fixed or sticky, whatever you want to do, right? So it's a little bit more of a versatile component, and just covers a couple more scenarios. Like the bottom navigation, you wouldn't just have the title of your application in there, and there's no real room
like hanging out at the bottom.
Exactly. But for the app bar, like, you have room for that, and it's really intended to be that as well. So those are kind of some of the quick differences between the two components.
Nice. Well, I want to go ahead and let's grab, I want to just grab the most basic bottom nav that we can, which actually I think there was if we go to maybe appearance, I think there was a simpler one there. And we are just going to grab our bottom navigation. And it's inside. So again, Friday, the day of cleaning up this application, I'm going to make a navigation component and service. I think there's already a service, but it needs cleaned up. So I will be making those. They won't live forever in our app component. So apologies for this very faux pas issue that we're having here. So we have in our app component, everything is loaded in here with our router outlet, but then this is the goodness that's around it, which includes, if we go back over to our application, it includes this header and the current navigation that exists. And then let's go back. So down here, just at the very bottom, let's go ahead and throw in, boop, 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 boop. We're going to throw in our basic Kendo bottom navigation. And I'm going to show you before we go and check it out what is happening. So we have items, which is set to, it's bound to a variable called items. Theme color, which I'm actually going to set to warning because I don't have a theme color variable. Fill, which is, I think there's, don't everyone close your eyes. Don't look. Okay. Let's go check out. I think there's like solid on fill. I want to see. Yes, solid and flat are your two options. So if we go back over here.
Do you get code complete? Because in React, you totally get code complete.
Oh, do I?
Hang on.
Might not have that extension active. I'm really, really bad with, I always like disable most of my extensions because I had issues, like it was a while back, sometime last year, and I didn't know which extension was causing it. So I like just disabled all of them. I need to go and find it and re-enable it. So no, I saw you actually yesterday and I was like, he's got,
yeah, I'll be showing it off in a minute. You can see like all the like you could be in a template and you know all the options right there. So
that's 100% on me. That's not the tools. That's Alyssa. So we also have a border option.
By the way, you can always claim that it's an excuse just to show off our documentation, right? Like you don't want Visual Studio Code to be the documentation.
Yeah, you just
want to show it off. Yeah,
play it off smooth. Yeah,
that was like 100% the plan.
Yeah,
obviously. Yeah. So we have a Boolean for border, true or false. But items, we don't want to plug those in right here. So let's go and check out our item options. So this is actually using the router config in Angular, which is in... we have an app routing modules, and this is where our routes are defined and where the router module is being passed those routes. And I went ahead and I added a couple extra onto the dashboard and the heroes because these are the two routes that we want to show up in our bottom navigation because they're the two main routes that are showing up in our top nav. So the whole idea here was whenever you get to a small enough screen size, or maybe you're checking to see if it's on mobile with JavaScript, or maybe you're checking to see if it has orientation so that you know you're on a mobile device or an iPad of sorts, that at that point, let's go ahead and swap over our navs, right? And so I want these two to specifically, we need text to display for it, and then we need an icon also whenever we have our bottom nav activated. So let's go to, I lost it. this is being passed our routes, and we're saying for each route. And then you can totally judge me, but I just said, if the route has an icon, go ahead and put it into our items, push that into our items. And we need 3 things from it: our icon, our text, and our path. And so if we go back to the mockup, yes, lovely. We are giving it items, and I think it should work at this point. Cross fingers, but I do have a more beefy example that we'll be moving on to if it doesn't. So refresh page. Beautiful. Ready? Are we ready? Here we go. So when that sidebar disappears, we should see a bottom nav. I hope so. Oh, no. Okay. So I did something. I don't know what I did. Let's see if I put in my markup. Bump. I was bound. I said it was going to happen, and then it didn't. And it was just, okay, let's see. Oh no, where's my bottom nav? All right, hang on. We're going to figure this out. Hey, let's do this. Let's wipe this, because I'm pretty sure I didn't.
Could you just make it like temporarily show up like all the time just to make sure it's there?
Oh,
yes. Good point. Okay.
Just like, because it's possible like the media query is got a typo in it or something, maybe.
Yeah. Wait a minute. You're right. It was happening when hold full screen and go to. It was happening when I was resizing with this, not when I was resizing. And I was like, why did orientation just hit? It's not happening. Okay. So let's go back and say, I think customizing a bottom nav. So I'm saying display none by default. I'm turning it off. And then I was toggling it on with orientation portrait, but we could do it for like a minimum screen size.
Yeah, because I'm guessing to see portraits. Well,
awesome. It's still broken. That's what we want to see. Because I was like, it's not my styles, TJ.
Is it?
So I was hoping it was still broken. I know that sounds bad.
Is it still somewhere like all the way at the bottom? It's just that it's not popping up.
There it is. There she is. Display flex is because I'm giving it no. Why are you
where
there?
is it?
Hang, height. No, maybe 100
10 million
pixels.
pixels.
No. Overflow hidden in case it's collapsed.
Oh, are there things in the bottom navigation?
Ooh, good point. We have this span, which is binding this link, which says dashboard.
Okay.
Where is it and why is it? This is so funny. Okay, hang on. Here's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Oh, you have an idea? You have an idea?
No. Go for it.
Okay. I was gonna say, let's go and go here to my terminal. I did update some npm thingies, so hopefully it's not that. Git status, do I have to add the stash? I think so. Git add -a, sure. Git stash, git checkout master.
We need to run the new React color contrast tool on your terminal here.
Yeah.
You've got like neon pink on.
I don't think it's very accessible. We're gonna have to have a talk.
I love this color scheme with the pink and the black.
Pink, neon pink, neon green, dark red on black.
I feel like you're saying there's a problem, but I don't see the problem, TJ. Sorry about this ng serve. She's going, and then it'll load, and we're just gonna put it out there in the universe, and it'll work. And then we can move on to some React. So
that works. I want to see it. I want to see it in action.
Come on, Mama needs a bottom navigation. All right, where's my Pop it. Oh my gosh. I don't know what I did. I broke it. I broke our bottom nav somehow. All right. This is my promise to you all that by the end of the stream, before TJ finishes talking, I will have this debugged.
Yeah, we can come back to it to see the bottom nav in action.
No, because I know I did something. Okay, so like I was trying to get the multi-select tree working. And I had to do a bunch of as I was doing it, I was like, Alyssa, you're like 10 minutes before you go live. You shouldn't touch your NPM dependencies. And I was like, no, it'll be
It's like
fine.
deploying on a Friday, right? You don't mess with things 10 minutes before you go live.
I messed with the dependencies, and now something isn't working. So I promise before TJ finishes React, we will have a working BottomNav, and I'll show it to you. So, but without further ado, hopefully you enjoyed that. TJ!
Yeah. Well, I think we should set some context again for people that are just showing up, checking this out. Yes. So this whole week is release week here at Progress. I've even got the fancy banner here to refer to. And so we've done a few webinars already. We're doing we're basically just hanging out today and talking about the latest Kendo UI for Angular, KendoReact stuff. And then tomorrow, if you're interested, and we can put this banner back up again, we're doing a full webinar on all of this that you can sign up for. There we go. There's our fancy banner for it that you can sign up for if you want to see like a formal presentation of all of this. But now is a great time, since we're just hanging out. If you have anything you want to see out of the latest Kendo UI for Angular, KendoReact releases, anything you want to chat about, feel free to bring it up in chat. Otherwise, we're just going to show some randomness. We're going to work on bottom navigation. I've got some completely random things to show as well. So if you like random, then awesome. But if you want to see like some specific problem that you're having or that you want to see discussed or coded, feel free to chime in as well. But all right, with that disclaimer out of the way, I'll bring up my stuff and we can start to show some React stuff.
I don't know why, but like the Titanic song just went off when you said that. I was just like, it was just, you're here, TJ, so there's nothing I fear. Let's do it. React.
Here's the webinar page. I need this page up, which is my React sample app, and we'll go ahead and start it. So what I've got up here is a list of everything new that's a part of this KendoReact release. So we've got some updates to our demos. If you haven't seen those yet, KendoReact.com, all the demos now have TypeScript code and ways of seeing the code with both hooks and class components. So we'll bring up some of these. We've got 3 new components: external drop zone, skeleton, which Alyssa's kind of covered a little bit already during the Angular section. The component works the exact same way for React. Obviously, it's just with React syntax instead of Angular syntax. The circular gauge is this thing you're seeing right here, just a way of making, well, the name kind of says it all, right? A circular gauge. So what I thought we'd cover is I've got a couple random things from here that I thought I would show off and that we could implement and talk about. And then, as I said, feel free to chime in chat if you want to see some different things. But we can talk about the external drop zone. Alyssa, Carl, is this in Angular as well? Is this something that...
It is, yeah. Actually, it was first introduced as a concept in the Angular suite based on some feedback that we were getting from our customers. And then we wanted to, of course, add it into React as well. We saw a lot of usage there too. So it's fun to see it and get added in with this release for sure.
Awesome. I like that, because then that makes this a little bit more fun, because then if you're seeing this and you're interested in it and you're an Angular person, well, then this component is very much available. You just implement it with Angular code instead of React code. And to do that, let's head over to this little like form I have here for support. And let's say, actually, is this like a cached version of this? So I wasn't messing with NPM, but my dev server is just
that's because you're wise. That's why.
But apparently it didn't do me any good, because this thing is just chugging for some reason. So we'll give it a chance to start up. But while that's up, I can show what the external drop zone is and sort of looks like, and then we'll implement it in this app. But the essential idea is it's a component that, as the name sort of implies, the drop zone, that you can take files and sort of drop them into your application. So I've got this drop zone somewhere over here. I've got a chicken, right? Always have to have a chicken. So you drop these in, and it just gives your users, I feel like this is a pretty common dev pattern at this point. I think the UI sometimes varies, and you can totally customize this UI if you don't like it, but just give you some way that you can drop in files for if you accept file uploads through your app. And this component gives you an easy way of not only building this UI, but also connecting it to, this is the upload component. And the upload component is, I don't know, Carl, is the best way to describe it, like almost like a file manager in a sense. Like it helps you just sort of get uploaded files. Like I can upload multiples of these. I think if I put it in here, I get 2 chickens, right? I can delete them. There's ways of like processing these and getting them ready for my server and whatnot. So by combining these 2 things, you get the ability to not only accept file uploads, but then also like manage them. Obviously, you could put your own UI in here for like sending these to some sort of a server, or maybe you're connecting it to an account or whatever it is you need to do through your application. And the other thing too, since my dev server is apparently just hanging out for some reason, and I'm not totally sure why, we'll give that another minute. Hopefully it figures out what it's doing. But the one thing that I thought was a little bit weird is that you have this like drag and drop sort of thing, but then you also have like in this demo, at least, also this way of selecting files. So what you can do if you think this is weird is you can use CSS just to hide the upload. I know our implementation requires you to tie these things together. So if you look at the code that makes this up, that you essentially have to have the external drop zone and the upload components reference each other, because the upload is what's doing essentially the heavy lifting. The drop zone is just the thing that accepts the files. But I don't know, Carl, what you think, if this is like kind of strange to see them both, because you can just use CSS to make this go away if you don't like it.
Yeah, it is and it isn't, just because of what you were mentioning before, right? What if we're uploading multiple files? What if the user wants to see a list of the files that are being uploaded? So in general, they tend to work in tandem, because adding a file into an application, generally it's going to be uploaded somewhere, right? Whether it's uploaded and then pushed off to somewhere on the client and you're temporarily saving it there, or if you're pushing it off to the server. Either way, it is going to be uploaded from the user's machine somehow. And it is, by the way, using the file API behind the scenes. So that's always a fun little tidbit. But yeah, the reason that we have it connected to the upload here is because the most common use case is being able to either upload multiple files at once, upload one at a time, and see the resulting the resulting list of the files. And then also, if for some reason you can't do a drag and drop from your desktop over to the external drop zone, the upload is there as a fallback. So let's say you're doing pure keyboard navigation, you can focus a select file button, hit enter, and then have it pop up as well.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but you probably want to provide some fallback for keyboard purposes. Yep. So that actually makes a lot of sense. And the other thing too is you could put some other text here to help communicate that to users as well. I guess it sort of depends. And
yeah, since all you're doing is that ref, they can be wildly separated on the page if you really wanted to, as long as you can have that reference. So that definitely makes it pretty easy to be able to connect them and still inject, whatever HTML you want in between. They don't have to be like we have them here, right? Stacked on top of each other.
Yeah. And what I'll do is my server finally started. I don't know what actually like it's one of those days, right?
Is it because it's like running StreamYard too? Like that's so strange. It shouldn't have been like that.
It's yeah. Everything is going slow right now, and it's really kind of strange. I don't totally understand it, but
I think there's something in the water today, because now all 3 of us have had issues. I had to reboot my entire machine because something was keeping the camera and microphone busy, which makes me wonder who was spying on me for the last hour when I wasn't in a meeting. I'm really curious about that.
Yeah, I'm with Ivana. I think it's the week too. It's haunted. This week is haunted.
Yeah, little did I know that the spookiest month of the year is mid-May. Yeah.
It's May. Don't knock it, Carl.
Yeah.
It'll get you.
Pollen's out. It's getting warmer. All the ghosts are out. Yeah.
Like, I did figure out the bug, so I can't wait at the end to show you. It was my bad. It was definitely on me. As always, it was on me.
Well, we might have you show it if I'm just going to sit here, but
Okay, can I show real quick? Because I'm dying to fix my mistakes, my woes. Okay, real quick, just real fast.
Retribution.
Well, here you go. I'll wrap this up on the external drop zone, and then I'll pass it back over to you. But
perfect.
Essentially, to implement this, like I just took this in a form, right? Dropped in. This is essentially the same code that came from the KendoReact demos that I dropped it in, again, creating a ref to connect these two things. And I actually did, like I said, I used some CSS to hide the actual upload parts. But now I'm thinking, after what Carl said, that I might put that back so that it's a fallback for just if you're using the keyboard, you have some way of triggering an upload. But just to show you, like, it's cool that this is all web-based, because then you can sort of customize this and sort of make this into what you want. And you're using the file API under the hood, but you don't need to know about the complexity of it, right? You just get some nice, easy ways of doing this sort of thing.
Yeah, and TJ mentioned this, but that little actual zone, like that gray box that we see there, completely customizable. So if you want to toss in your own icons, your own layout, or whatever it might be.
So here we go, Alyssa, watch this, right? I do this, and look at this. I got my custom, my autocomplete, right?
I need to get on it. I mean, like, because I saw you yesterday and I was like, oh, the magic.
Yeah. Apparently that we'll get, see, there we go. Everything's just running a little bit slow, but it is working. All right, I want to see what's wrong with bottom navigation, which, by the way, we have bottom navigation in React too. So
you're gonna facepalm whenever you hear what it was that I did. It was,
all right, I'm turning it back over to you. I'm ready for it.
It was silly. Okay, so remember how I said that I was last minute adding in all of these components in the sidebar because I wanted to show them off.
Of course.
Well, one of those components is this version, which should have been our big red flag, this version of the bottom navigation. And if you'll notice, it's not on the bottom of the page because I had to do some pretty specific styles to get it to be where it is today. Well, being the Alyssa that I am, I always disable view encapsulation because it makes me want to stab something. We can have this conversation later. It's just how I roll. I think cascading style sheets should be cascading, but it was a cascading mistake because my super specific positioning of static to like make that be where it is today was also positioning our other bottom nav. So I nestled it all under sidebar styles, and now we should be able to whenever it hits orientation, which I have no idea why we're hitting like the orientation changes. Like I feel like that should only happen on mobile, but I digress. We get our little sidebar here, and it does in fact have a working nav because it's plugging into our route config. And so yes, let me pull that back up. Where is it? It's app component HTML. Here she is.
And I do kind of like, because it's the same with React as well, that it, like, because with React, it ties in to the React router, and you can make it work with really any router you want to use with React, which is kind of nice, because then I mean, when you're using the bottom navigation, you almost want, it's a navigator, right? So tying it into the router is kind of important.
I literally, all I did was, so remember how we were going through the items array that we built from the router, that like the pieces that we wanted from the router. And so this is where I'm plugging in the icon using our Kendo icon component. And this is where I'm plugging in the like the text that we're getting from the route. And I just made I just grabbed this class and I made it a column so that they stack on top of each other instead of side by side. And I gave them some beautiful, gorgeous pink and some not hover styles. So I was really specific. So the idea is that when the ponies go mobile, we're going to hide this upper nav, receive a bottom nav, and our sidebar is going to stack. which this is a bit chunky. Maybe like, that looks better. So instead of a sidebar on the side, the sidebar goes to the bottom. This is my plan for mobile. But in order to do this, if you'll go to, I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so I can see. This is where I'm going and giving it a background color. And I have a colors.scss that has these in there. But I am hiding and showing based on our orientation. But I think I might do this with JavaScript. And there's like there's a bunch of fancy regexes out there that are like, if you're on this device, that device, if you're like using this type of browser. So I think I might use some JavaScript to disable or enable, like just with a variable or something. But essentially the idea is, again, to have my BottomNav on mobile. And then I did not do hover states because I've been informed there is no hover on any mobile device. So yes.
You can hover over the buy button as you're nervous about, should I buy this thing that I randomly thought about on Amazon? But I don't think your phone actually senses there's just the heat coming off your hand as you're deciding if it's a good purchase or not.
That was beautiful, Carl. I was asking, I was like, Zach, is there any mobile device that has hover? And he was like, not anymore. And I was like, ooh, we'll talk, because that sounds like an interesting story.
Well, didn't there used to be like, because I believe like early on browsers, like we're talking like the very early versions of like iOS Safari and such, like because so much was written to assume desktop behavior, I think they did, and I don't know how much of this is still true, they would like trigger hover events because they kind of had to, because so much, right?
Yep.
Oh,
because you think like
makes sense.
Think about like the menus at the top that had the drop down thing that would only show on hover. Well, like if unless they like mimicked those hover events, then those menus would be unusable. So they would like trigger the event. And they probably still do in some capacity, but I don't. It's been a while since I've dug deep into that, because it's not anymore. It's not like the recommended way of doing it, because it's hairy territory. But I would guess, and if you know in chat, if we have any like hover web browser experts in here, I'd be very curious to know what the situation is like now. But I think my guess is they would still fire it.
State, and I was like, I think we should. The rundown says, does long press trigger the hover? That is such a fun thing to find out. Like
yeah, we should maybe test this.
Yeah, this is. I'm getting, and I could just be dreaming about this. I could just make it up on the spot, but something is telling me, like deep back in my brain, I was working through this issue in the early days of using jQuery and using our components, where the mobile browser was actually executing, and like the hover event was a part of essentially a button click. It went hover into button click. So like the hover event was being executed. And for some reason, whatever I was working on at the time, it would mess up with like things would like be super janky, because it would try to do things on both hover and then on the click that would conflict. So it was, I think that was what I came to the conclusion of back then, which could be completely different nowadays, right? Like
this all makes way more sense, because whenever he was alluding to older, like back in the day, some mobile devices had hover, I was like imagining some sort of like out there sci-fi device that like actually was detecting hover, not hover was triggering when something else happened. So this makes so much more sense than where my brain took it, which was a weird place. Are you testing it on? Are you trying to do the long press one?
I'm 100% testing this. Hold on, background.
Look at you and your awesome jQuery knowledge, just throwing out. Oh wait, no, is that just JavaScript? That's not jQuery.
Oh yeah,
right?
It's just JavaScript.
Yeah, it's like so small on my screen. I was like, is that jQuery? No, it's JavaScript.
This is the latest and greatest framework called Vanilla JS. You can find it on my GitHub account. Please favorite it, like, and spread the word.
Did I do something wrong though? Because shouldn't this give me an alert here when I hover over this?
Yeah,
doesn't it? Or no, because it's going to be like on mouse over.
Yeah, probably, right.
Yeah,
I think hover is an event. Now we're leaning a little bit on what I think jQuery might have done back in the day, where we summarize like hover specifically.
Yeah. Okay, so hold on. So on hover, this box
Wait, it's
turns
working.
yellow, right?
Yeah.
Right. So now we need to test this. So I think we do this, and then we do /show. Right. So
Cool. That's a thing. What?
Yeah. So now we're going to toss this in the chat. Oh, why is this not? Did I not save this? Hold on.
You took out your JavaScript. Did you mean to take out the JavaScript?
Yeah, because we're just going to see if the CSS hover gets triggered here.
Okay. I gotcha.
So now we're all going to bring this up on our phones. This is for science.
For science.
For science. Okay, I'm totally bringing this up on my phone.
Yeah.
What a fun, like, this is such a fun way of like debugging this real fast, TJ. I'm so like impressed with you and your debug skills.
Well, we'll see if it works. I've got an iPhone. Do we have at least one Android phone here?
Oh yeah, I do.
Okay,
you
good.
Do? Okay.
Now I need like the quick way of debugging, the easiest way to get a link to my phone. Solve the hard problems.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
is
hard
it
pressing.
manually type it in? Because that's what I did.
Yeah, that's how I'm manually typing it.
It's easier to activate.
Oh, so on Android, it acts as a click. So nothing, as soon as I tap it, that's when it changes to yellow.
You can get it to go to yellow?
Yeah, but it is on click or tap.
The rundown says click works.
Oh man. On my iPhone, I don't get it.
Yeah, nothing.
Ooh.
I can't.
I mean, another victory for Android, right?
Well, I don't know, because what should happen here, honestly?
You're calling it a victory, but do we want this?
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted it to turn yellow, and look what happened.
Yeah, the rundown.
I'm in Safari. I can pull up Chrome. Let me pull up Chrome on my, because someone was asking. That's a good idea to like test a different browser.
Well, Chrome for iOS is the same rendering engine as Safari, so
is it?
I wouldn't expect any differences.
Yeah, nothing's happening.
I did NativeScript. I know more about mobile stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe
I want to.
I don't have Firefox on this device, but I can install it. Hold on. Let me.
Oh yeah,
can you get Firefox on an iPhone? An iPhone?
You can, but it's also so Apple dictates that all web browsers, if you build a web browser for the iPhone, it has to use their rendering engine. So it's WebKit no matter what you do. Whereas Android is open. So if Carl tries Firefox, it will be different.
All right. Let me see
browser.
Never did I think that me just staring at my phone was going to be acceptable behavior during a live stream, but here we are.
But this is definitely answering the question of why you don't rely on hover functionality.
No. Well, and that's the thing is like, I would have never thought to.
It's totally changing too.
Yeah.
Like, let's say you use BottomNav in your Kendo UI app, and then you have it on mobile. I would never have thought to like make sure that my hover states are acceptable for mobile devices too, in case I had a PWA that also had that same BottomNav. Like, because in my head, I would just be like, mobile's not a thing. But apparently for some mobile devices, hover is a thing. So
yeah, and it works differently. So yeah.
Because oftentimes you'll set your hover to your active state, like it's been clicked. So if Carl pulls up the BottomNav, and for my PWAs, I have the hover set to the same thing as an active state, when he like, it might be a bit jank, like flashing back and forth when I'm not intending it to be active yet. So I'm just like baffled that this is something I have to account for now. Thank you everyone for that.
Yeah, I was trying to see if I could figure out any other browser, but I think between Firefox and Chrome on Android, we got that covered, and then Safari on iOS. So
anymore, for better or worse, those kind of are the only three rendering engines anymore. So
yeah.
All right, well, that answered that question. So
I'm so sorry. I feel like I hijacked the whole stream.
That was totally worth hijacking for, though. So I did. So for the Kendo UI releases, looking back on these, so first of all, just serve as a segue, bottom navigation totally exists in React as well. So if you need those menus, if you want to configure them for your React apps, you could totally do that as well. But out of these, again, in chat, if you want to see any of these features, let me know. But another one I wanted to show off real quick is the PDF exporter, because that's another feature that exists across Kendo flavors. And I feel like it's one that it's cool, and like we don't maybe think about or talk about a whole lot, but it's super useful. Just being able to take your pages, or like even, as I'll show in a second, a chunk of your page, and just being able to give users a PDF of it is just handy. I notice it now. Like I went through and did my taxes the other day, way too late, but like TurboTax gives you the ability to do this sort of thing, right? Like you can generate PDFs of some of the stuff you're seeing. And I totally didn't realize that like some of this stuff was possible in JavaScript. Like, I don't know, like PDF just seems like one of those technologies that's just like some proprietary thing that's totally unknowable, but you can totally create these things with JavaScript, and with Kendo, you can do it quite easily. So I thought it was worth showing off. So let's do that. Alyssa, did you know you could make PDFs?
No.
From JavaScript?
Like legit?
I did it.
No. So I'm so excited to watch you do this.
So what you do, and what's new for this release, so this is not a new feature of really, this has been in Kendo UI, I think really all the flavors for a long time. But one thing we added is the ability to export SVGs. So that's something which is handy, because a whole lot of things like charts and just data visualizations and SVGs are becoming a lot more common. So it's something that you'd probably want to be able to export. And so it's something that we added. And the way you can do this is, suppose you have a page that looks like this. And let's say we want to give people the ability, let's just throw a button in here. So I have some CSS defined, and we can give a button. So
oh my gosh, your HTML?
Are
you in React? Is this React?
This is React, yeah.
Your HTML has highlighting.
Yeah, because this is TSX, JSX. So this is like one of the benefits of using React is you get like, it's basically you treat your markup more like code, which means you get some of the benefits of doing that.
The last time I opened a React app, it was like all one color, and I was like, I quit, and I like just closed it. So I think you and I need to talk about VS Code and how to be better at it, is what I'm getting from this stream. Because yours is just mwah. It's beautiful.
It's gotten quite good. So let's say we have a button, right? So there's no special PDF stuff coming on this quite yet. So let's say on click, we need to export a PDF. And so I'll come up here, right? So this is still just like sort of boilerplate stuff we're setting up for before the magic kicks in. So here's where we need to like do the PDF, right? So there's nothing here that's specific to Kendo, or like, I guess this is a Kendo UI button, but nothing magic happening. So how do we actually do the PDF exporting? So there is a package that, let's see if look over to my other monitor so I can remember the name, called Progress, and it's KendoReact PDF. And this ships, actually, I'm surprised, Carl, that this is React specific. There must be some React specific processing in this. I kind of expected this to be more generic.
Yeah, we do share an engine, by the way, between all the products, because ultimately the PDF exportation, like, it is generic enough for that. But there are some specifics around React, Angular, and even jQuery, et cetera, that we have to do with each one to make it flow and integrate well. And like, for example, the way that you do the markup here in a bit is unique to React.
Gotcha. And I think it's save PDF. And so really all I have to do here, I believe I just call save PDF. I don't think there's anything more to this. I think I can just like pass it the body. I don't know. We'll see if this works. And if it doesn't, we'll go to fix it. But I believe you just tell this, I want a PDF of whatever. And so you can pass this either the entire page. No, cannot find save PDF. Oh, okay. Come on, TypeScript was slow to flag that. It wants uppercases. So you can either pass it the whole document, or you can pass it a reference to like a specific part of the page if you want to do that as well. And this is just going to take a second to go up because
did it happen?
It did. Everything's on a bit of a delay right now for some reason. I don't know. My computer is chugging for some reason, but it's still in there. It's trying really hard, Alyssa.
I believe in you, TJ's computer.
But there you go. So this is like a
Did
full so this is like an honest PDF, right? This probably saved to my desktop somewhere. Yeah. So like this is like a PDF. I can view it on my desktop, right? So, and these charts are SVGs, and so they now export correctly, and we now see these on the screen. And the other thing you can do is, so in React, one thing you can do is do something called references. It's just like give me a pointer to an element in the DOM. And so
I think we have the same thing in Angular, like template reference variables, and you do a hashtag instead of.
Yeah, exactly. So chart container, which is what I think
I'm being told it's not a hashtag, it's an octothorpe.
Sure.
First time I've heard that word.
And if you pass,
you're I see what's happening. Is it going to work?
We'll see if it works first try. Of course, my computer's got to like fully think through this process a bit, but the general idea is you're saying like this. Oh, hold on. This is TypeScript yelling at me.
Oh, okay.
This TypeScript's like
that's one of TypeScript's best qualities: the ability to yell. At developers.
That's one of the reasons, since I don't build all these big enterprise applications, that's one of the reasons I avoid it, because I'm like, don't yell at me. I prefer it if my browser yells at me. Thank you very much. You don't do
I don't need your judgment. This is not that kind of day, TypeScript.
Yeah. I don't need your sass, and get out of my life. Yeah.
So I'm wondering if, because maybe this is just being slow again. I think it was yelling at me because it's saying, since I'm setting chart container to null at the start, it's still mad at me. It's not assignable to parameter HTML element. So does it just want like an HTML element here generically? I might have to.
Or is it mad that you're trying to use like the reference variable?
So
does it?
Yeah, what I think is happening here, this is where I could be wrong. Whenever I use the ref like that, I actually tend to use the PDF export component that comes along with it, and I wrap that around the content that I'm looking to export, and then I add the reference to that. If that makes sense.
Fancy with it.
Yeah. So essentially, in React, there's two ways that you can do this, either via component or via method. And if you're doing it via a method like this, I believe that it is looking for like a specific HTML element.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you want to export it as a component, you can actually wrap around the HTML that you're looking to export with the PDF export component, and then use that when you export.
Yeah, and there's a. Oh, hey, Ed, we're exporting PDFs. It's fun times.
And by the way, what TJ's doing here as he's walking through things, this is possible in React, Angular, and jQuery, all through the same kind of core library. And it functions very much the same way. Whatever you pass it in, that chunk of HTML, whether it's a document body or a smaller chunk, it will just export anything within it.
Yeah, so it wants, I'm just going to follow. This is kind of one of the cool thing about having so many just copy and pastable demos on our site is like when in doubt, you can just sort of copy and paste from the docs, get something to work. And then once it works, then you can sort of think about, okay, well, what's what's the version of this code that I want, like, to get ready for production usage of my app, sort of thing.
No, and like round of applause for like the dev teams who have what was plus 2,000 examples that they're like rendering so quickly, like they just made happen. Like it's beautiful. I love our docs. I will never stop ranting my love. I don't know if rant can be good about our docs.
Shouting our love. I don't know.
Shouting.
I tend to say that I ramble a lot about things when I do exactly what you're saying, passionately talking about.
Oh man, what did I screw up this time? Let's see. So it's saying PDF export is not assignable to HTML div element.
Oh, because you gave that reference HTML div element. Is that what they're doing in their demo?
So I'm trying to figure out. So it's got this container. How is container
Right.
used here?
It is. How is container used? Oh, let element container.current or document.body. Save PDF element. Interesting. Paper size auto because we're printing this PDF. That's cute with a margin. How
Well,
fun! You've got all of these things that you can set on it.
I think so. It doesn't like this ref to PDF. Oh, because it wants. Where's the ref down here? Oh, it wants like a full. I see.
Yeah. This is what I was talking about, and this is where I just followed our docs and then didn't try to break it. So I was like, yeah, this makes sense. I just wrap around my content with this component.
Dude, that is literally all I do is try to break things. That's all I do. I don't know how you get away with not. Like, I'm just over here. I am the breaker of codes. Oh, that's so you're going to go ahead and do. Are you doing this way, TJ? Where you?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and just do what they want us to do here. Slash. We'll
so this is when you want to take the component approach to exporting. You should still be able to do it with the method. So the method approach doesn't require you to wrap around it with a component. Like you just pass it in the proper element.
So how does if we want to get the method approach to work, right? So if I say I want to do the method, and with the method approach, say PDF, and it wants
what's with your empty tag on 35? Is that a React thing?
It is. It's basically just saying, because all React components have to have a single parent. And so if you have like something like this, you can use this instead of creating like an empty div sort of thing.
It used to be just living that extra div life, but now you can insert these fragments to make it a little bit cleaner.
I gotcha.
Yeah, you just wrapped everything around with the div. You're like, all right, fine, stop yelling at me. Here's the div. You happy now? And then it was.
Okay, so I think we got this. So now what I'm doing is I'm saying, oh, come on. Oh, there we go. It's just slow. That's okay. I think because I've got a reference to my container, right? And then up here, I'm saying my container is a reference. And then when I'm exporting PDF with this method, I say, if you have a container, use it. And then the fallback is the body.
Okay.
And let's see if it works.
Does it need a fallback? Is it going to be grumpy if you don't give it a fallback?
We can try getting rid of it.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, let's try after
this.
Hey, it worked!
It worked! Paper size auto. I wonder, like, so let's see if it yells. Not yelling. What are my like paper size options?
Oh, you have so many paper size options. Oh. I think paper sizes come like A, B, C, and then it's like 0 through 20 or something like that. Yeah, if you want to talk about paper sizes,
I do. Wait, hold on a second. No. We're going to the API documentation real quick. Where do I go? API reference. Do we break this out in the API docs? Because I hope we do.
Yeah, I'm jumping into seeing where specifically we mentioned all.
Oh my god!
Different page sizes. I'm pretty sure we keep it all there.
Look at this.
Okay, so it's through 10, not 20. But yeah, that's a lot of different paper sizes.
No, we're doing this. So I want executive paper size.
Is executive the really long one?
It's a great question. I don't know enough about paper. We should get Michael Scott on the phone and see if he can address these questions and concerns for us.
We're all like,
I
what's
know.
paper?
Yeah, I use A4, and that's the only type of paper I've used in my entire life when I needed to print something. Never have I ever printed something on any other type of paper.
Oh, hold on. I'm giving a margin of, I want a 4 centimeter. I just want to see this working. I want an executive paper size with 5 centimeter margins. Landscape, yeah, I want landscape. I want to see if we can break this thing.
Oh, Eva with the paper knowledge. She said A4 is regular, A3 is for plans, architectural, etc.
Yeah, I think.
Wow.
I think this is a mark of a true adult, knowing when to use different paper sizes. And I'm like, yeah, A4, baby, let's do it. That's all.
Oh man, file name. PDFs rule.pdf. Sure. I just want to make this nuts, right? The creator. What does setting a creator do?
Oh, that's cool. Make
creator.
Someone the creator. Make yourself the creator. Go to live. Nice.
Chicken.
I'm so impressed by Ivana's paper knowledge. I really am.
I know.
Yeah. If
A5
I just
is your regular progress notebook.
Yeah. If I hadn't just created a couple of videos on PDF exportation, I wouldn't even have known that there's a B and C type of paper. I knew that there were different sizes, but I thought it was A4, maybe like down to like A0, and then like executive like was like a fancy thing, and like maybe you have something for labels, and like that was it. That's paper. It's so much more than just an A4.
So it took our file name.
Did it? Oh my goodness.
I want to see executive paper here. Oh.
I know, Ed. We'll talk. It's instead of a wrapper div, because apparently every React component has to have only one single parent, and people were tired of giving their parents a wrapper div, and so now they just do empty brackets. I don't know. It's madness. If you
it's called a fragment.
Yeah. So check this out. Like when I did, I got to go like here. So when I said executive type, look at this. I got a different icon on my Mac for whatever that means.
Yeah, it's the executive icon. We need the chicken with like a suit and a cigar or something like that. Yeah,
and a top hat, maybe like Monopoly style.
That is worth. That is worth a pull request for.
If I had any skills in SVG whatsoever. Yeah.
Anyways, PDF exporting. You can do it. You can have some fun with it. You can do. Presumably, you would use this and you would just save your PDFs. You might want to set the file name. That's actually kind of useful because, like, you probably want something that looks like professional there. The rest of this stuff, chances are you'd probably just want to leave blank. But I don't know. Maybe you watching this, you like PDF exporting is your thing, and you've got like you really need your users know A1 through A5 like that's just their normal vocabulary. They bring it up in casual conversation. I don't know. It's there for you if you want to use it.
The big thing with this release, though, is the generic SVG exportation piece of this. Because SVGs can come in any shape and size, right? It's completely customizable. And it's a non-trivial problem to solve. So if we have control over it, it's a little bit easier to say, well, we know roughly how our SVG elements are being auto-generated. But if a person off the street is like, hey, I created this logo in SVG, I want that to be exported as well, that's been a little bit tricky. But with this release, we now have the capacity to, no matter what SVG you throw at it, it should be available in the exported document. If it's not for some reason, we'd love to know so that we can figure out what is so special about that SVG that we haven't been able to solve for yet.
Yeah, and I think we're coming up on our time here, so I'll just say to wrap up, we've been talking about the releases. If you want to see kind of our formal walkthrough of all the things that are new, you can sign up for our webinar that's happening tomorrow, and I'll drop this in the chat one last time. I think Alyssa randomly disappeared. She was scared off by the PDF talk there. But if you want to hear from all of us tomorrow, it's going to be at 11 Eastern time. So it's at like 8 Pacific, and it's going to be like late afternoon, evening for our European friends. You can hop in. And if you sign up too, we'll send you the recording if it's at a non-convenient time for you. But yeah, that's about it. If there's any other questions, now's a good time to get them in. But otherwise, we'll see if Alyssa can come back to say goodbye, or otherwise we'll just have to sign off for her.
Yeah, it won't be as good as her sign-offs, unfortunately.
I know.
So, yeah. Can always try.
All right. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions coming in. So again, we're doing this tomorrow. If you want to see more about Kendo UI, hear more about the release, see a walkthrough of these features, join us then. Ed says needs more disco chicken. We can work on that.
Yeah, we'll add that in.
Yeah. But all right, until tomorrow. Oh, no, Alyssa's back to say goodbye. Maybe. Oh, there she is.
Can you hear
You're
me?
back.
You are here.
I'm so sorry. I just lost network. It's the haunted week. All right.
It is a haunted week. By the way, I just realized that the bandit doesn't cut off my head with how I'm sitting in the camera's angle. So
we gotta keep you up there.
Yeah, you gotta keep me up here so that you two are spared the banner.
No, I want to be headless. I'm gonna trade places.
We need to work on like a video filter, so like we turn into the Kondoka sort of on these streams sometimes.
Oh yes.
Or turn into the chicken.
Yeah. Loving this idea.
Your ideas are gold.
Let's just drop everything on the roadmap.
Yep. Right now, I'm gonna take all of our engineers and put them on to create that Insta and TikTok filter, and then also be able to add it in here.
All right.
So tomorrow, right? Tomorrow morning?
Tomorrow morning-ish our time.
Right.
Something else, whatever time you're watching this in. But thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Hopefully you've had fun learning about hover events and randomness with us today.
Yeah.
All right. See you, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Oh, Ed said raid. Do we have a raid? Do we have somebody to raid, Ed? Because we can. I can do it with my button skills. Do the button skills, Alyssa. Who do we raid? Someone give me a name. Raid. InstaFluff. Bald. Excellent. Yeah, InstaFluff, bald build. Oh man, bald bearded builder. Bald bearded builder. Also.
That is a tongue twister.
Yeah.
For sure.
Alyssa, you pushing the buttons for us? Yeah, it keeps telling me that InstaFluff is an invalid name. Do I have to surround it with brackets? InstaFloof. Yeah, it's saying that's invalid. You know, I'm really special with the doing and the. Okay, we'll try bald bearded. Yeah. Builder. Rating in 7 seconds. Raid up, let's raid. 3 seconds. Bye, guys. Let's go raid. Okay, we raided with our party of 14.